Let's start by understanding what garnishment means, especially in the context of government debt. Garnishment is a legal process where a portion of your wages or bank account is withheld to pay off a debt you owe. When it comes to government debt, this usually refers to money owed to federal or state agencies, such as unpaid taxes, student loans, or child support. The government has special authority to collect these debts, often without needing a court order. In this video, we'll break down the basics of garnishment for government debt, how it works, and what you should know if you find yourself facing this situation. Government debt refers to any money you owe to a government agency. This could include unpaid federal or state taxes, defaulted student loans, overdue child support, or even certain fines and penalties. Unlike private debts, government debts are often subject to stricter collection methods. The government has more power to collect what is owed, and the consequences for not paying can be more severe. Understanding the nature of government debt is crucial, as it determines how garnishment may be applied and what rights you have as a debtor. There are several types of government debt that can lead to garnishment. The most common are unpaid federal or state income taxes, defaulted federal student loans, and overdue child support payments. Each type of debt is handled by different government agencies, and the rules for garnishment can vary. For example, the IRS handles tax debts, while the Department of Education manages federal student loans. Knowing which type of debt you owe helps you understand which agency may initiate garnishment and what procedures they will follow. Garnishment works by legally requiring your employer or bank to withhold a portion of your wages or funds and send it directly to the government agency you owe. This process can begin after you've received notice of the debt and failed to pay. For government debts, agencies often have the authority to start garnishment without a court order, making the process faster and more direct. The amount garnished depends on the type of debt and your financial situation, but there are legal limits to how much can be taken from each paycheck. Wage garnishment is one of the most common forms of government debt collection. In this process, your employer is instructed to deduct a certain percentage of your paycheck and send it to the government agency. The exact percentage depends on the type of debt and federal or state laws. For example, up to 15% of your disposable income can be garnished for federal student loans, while child support garnishments can be much higher. Wage garnishment continues until the debt is paid off or other arrangements are made. In some cases, the government can garnish funds directly from your bank account. This is known as a bank levy. The agency will notify your bank, which will then freeze the necessary funds and transfer them to the government. Bank account garnishment is often used for unpaid taxes or court-ordered debts. It can be a surprise if you're not expecting it, so it's important to respond to any notices you receive about government debt to avoid this situation. Another method the government uses to collect debts is through tax refund offsets. If you owe money to a federal or state agency, your tax refund can be intercepted and applied to your debt. This is common for unpaid student loans, child support, or back taxes. The Treasury offset program manages these offsets, and you'll usually receive a notice if your refund is going to be taken. It's important to check your debt status before tax season to avoid surprises. One key difference between government debt garnishment and private debt collection is that the government often doesn't need a court order to start garnishment. Agencies like the IRS or Department of Education have special legal authority to collect debts directly. This means the process can move quickly, and you may have less time to respond. However, you are still entitled to receive notice and have certain rights to dispute the debt or request a hearing. Even though the government has strong powers to collect debts, there are legal limits on how much of your income can be garnished. Federal law sets maximum percentages for different types of debts. For example, no more than 25% of your disposable earnings can be garnished for most debts. But child support and tax debts may have different limits. These rules are designed to ensure you still have enough income to cover basic living expenses. Before garnishment begins, you are usually entitled to receive notice from the government agency. This notice will explain the debt, the amount owed, and your rights to dispute or appeal the garnishment. Due process is an important legal protection, ensuring you have a chance to respond before money is taken from your wages or bank account. If you believe the debt is incorrect or you have a valid defense, you can request a hearing or submit documentation to challenge the garnishment. If you receive a notice about garnishment for government debt, it's important to act quickly. Read the notice carefully to understand the amount owed and the agency involved. You may have the right to request a hearing, submit evidence, or negotiate a payment plan. Ignoring the notice can lead to automatic garnishment, so take action as soon as possible. If you're unsure how to proceed, consider seeking advice from a financial counselor or attorney. You have the right to dispute a government debt if you believe it's incorrect or if you've already paid it. The notice you receive will explain how to file a dispute or request a hearing. You may need to provide documentation, such as payment records or correspondence with the agency. If your dispute is successful, garnishment may be stopped or reduced. It's important to keep copies of all communications and responses for your records. If you disagree with the garnishment, you can request a hearing with the government agency. This gives you the opportunity to present your case, provide evidence, and explain your situation. Hearings are usually conducted by phone or in writing, but sometimes in person. The agency will review your case and make a decision. If you win, the garnishment may be stopped or adjusted. If not, you may still have options to appeal or negotiate a payment plan. If you can't pay the full amount owed, you may be able to negotiate a payment plan with the government agency. Many agencies offer installment agreements or hardship programs that allow you to pay off the debt over time. This can help you avoid garnishment and reduce financial stress. Be honest about your financial situation and provide any requested documentation. Once a plan is in place, make sure to keep up with payments to avoid further collection actions. In some cases, you may qualify for a hardship exemption that reduces or stops garnishment. If garnishment would leave you unable to pay for basic living expenses, you can request a review of your financial situation. The agency may require proof of income, expenses, and dependents. If approved, your garnishment may be lowered or temporarily suspended. It's important to apply as soon as you realize you're facing financial hardship. Federal student loans are a common source of government debt garnishment. If you default on your student loans, the Department of Education can garnish your wages without a court order. Up to 15% of your disposable pay can be taken until the debt is paid. You'll receive notice before garnishment begins and have the right to request a hearing or set up a repayment plan. Rehabilitation or consolidation options may also be available to stop garnishment. If you owe back taxes to the IRS or state tax agency, your wages or bank account can be garnished to collect the debt. The IRS has broad authority to levy wages, bank accounts, and even Social Security payments. You'll receive a notice before garnishment starts, and you have the right to appeal or set up a payment plan. Tax debts can also lead to tax refund offsets, where your refund is applied to the debt instead of being sent to you. Child support is another major reason for government garnishment. If you fall behind on court-ordered child support payments, your wages can be garnished, often at higher rates than other debts. In some cases, up to 60% of your disposable income can be withheld. The government can also intercept tax refunds and take other enforcement actions. It's important to stay current on child support to avoid severe financial consequences. Social Security benefits are generally protected from most types of garnishment. However, there are exceptions for certain government debts, such as unpaid federal taxes or child support. In these cases, a portion of your Social Security payments can be withheld to satisfy the debt. If you rely on Social Security, it's important to know your rights and seek help if you receive a garnishment notice. Besides taxes, student loans, and child support, there are other types of government debts that can lead to garnishment. These include unpaid fines, penalties, overpayments of government benefits, and certain court judgments. Each type of debt may have its own rules and procedures for garnishment. Always read any notices carefully and seek clarification from the agency if you're unsure about your debt. Garnishment for government debt continues until the debt is fully paid or you make alternative arrangements. The length of time depends on the amount owed, the percentage being garnished, and any interest or fees added to the debt. If you set up a payment plan or successfully dispute the debt, garnishment may end sooner. It's important to monitor your paychecks and account statements to track the progress of repayment. Government debts often accrue interest and additional fees while they remain unpaid. This means the total amount you owe can grow over time, making it harder to pay off. Some agencies also charge collection costs or penalties. It's important to understand the terms of your debt and factor in these extra costs when planning repayment. If you're struggling, ask the agency about options to reduce or waive fees. Garnishment for government debt can negatively affect your credit score. If the debt is reported to credit bureaus, it may appear as a collection account or public record, lowering your score and making it harder to get loans or credit cards. Some government debts, like federal student loans, have specific rules about credit reporting. Staying current on payments and resolving debts quickly can help protect your credit. Filing for bankruptcy can sometimes stop garnishment for government debt, but not always. Some debts, like recent taxes or student loans, are not easily discharged in bankruptcy. However, bankruptcy may provide temporary relief and allow you to reorganize your finances. If you're considering bankruptcy, consult with a qualified attorney to understand which debts can be discharged and how it will affect garnishment. When an employer receives a garnishment order for government debt, they are legally required to comply. This means deducting the specified amount from your paycheck and sending it to the agency. Employers must follow federal and state laws regarding the amount and timing of deductions. Failure to comply can result in penalties for the employer. If you have questions about your garnishment, talk to your payroll department. As an employee, you have rights when it comes to wage garnishment for government debt. You must receive notice before garnishment begins, and you have the right to dispute the debt or request a hearing. Federal law also protects you from being fired solely because of one garnishment. If you believe your rights are being violated, contact the agency or seek legal help. If you owe more than one government debt, you may face multiple garnishments at the same time. However, there are limits to how much can be taken from your wages overall. Federal law sets a maximum percentage of your disposable income that can be garnished, even if you have several debts. If you're facing multiple garnishments, contact the agencies involved to discuss your options and avoid financial hardship. Certain types of income are protected from garnishment, even for government debts. These include Social Security, with exceptions, disability benefits, and some retirement income. If your protected income is garnished in error, you can file a claim to have the funds returned. It's important to notify the agency and your bank if you believe your exempt income is at risk. Both federal and state governments can garnish wages for debts owed. However, the rules and limits may differ depending on the agency and the type of debt. Some states have stricter protections for debtors, while others follow federal guidelines. Always check your state's laws and consult with a local expert if you're unsure about your rights or obligations. There are many myths about government debt garnishment. Some people believe the government can take all your wages or that you have no rights. In reality, there are strict limits on how much can be garnished, and you have the right to notice and appeal. Understanding the facts can help you respond effectively and protect your finances. The best way to avoid garnishment for government debt is to address debts early, respond to notices, set up payment plans, and seek help if you're struggling. Ignoring the problem can lead to automatic garnishment and more financial stress. Many agencies are willing to work with you if you communicate and show good faith efforts to pay. If you're overwhelmed by government debt or garnishment, consider seeking professional help. Financial counselors, attorneys, and nonprofit organizations can provide advice and assistance. They can help you understand your rights, negotiate with agencies, and develop a plan to manage your debt. Don't hesitate to reach out if you need support. It's important to keep detailed records of all communications, payments, and notices related to your government debt. This documentation can help you dispute errors, prove payments, and protect your rights. Store copies of letters, emails, payment receipts, and any agreements you make with agencies. Good record keeping is essential for managing your debt effectively. Open and honest communication with government agencies is key to resolving debt issues. If you receive a notice or have questions, contact the agency promptly. Explain your situation, ask about options, and follow up in writing. Keeping a record of your communications can help if disputes arise later. Agencies are more likely to work with you if you stay in touch and show willingness to resolve the debt. Knowing your rights is essential when dealing with government debt garnishment. You have the right to receive notice, dispute the debt, request a hearing, and protect certain types of income. Federal and state laws provide important protections for debtors. If you're unsure about your rights, seek information from reputable sources or consult a legal professional. If you disagree with a garnishment decision, you have the right to appeal. The appeals process varies by agency, but usually involves submitting a written request and supporting documents. You may need to explain why the garnishment is incorrect or unfair. If your appeal is successful, the garnishment may be reduced or stopped. Always act quickly, as there are deadlines for filing appeals. If your federal student loans are in default and subject to garnishment, you may be able to rehabilitate them. Loan rehabilitation involves making a series of agreed-upon payments to bring your loans back into good standing. Once rehabilitation is complete, garnishment stops and your credit may improve. Contact your loan servicer to learn about eligibility and start the process. Debt consolidation is another option for managing government debts and avoiding garnishment. By combining multiple debts into a single loan, you may be able to lower your monthly payments and simplify repayment. Some federal student loans are eligible for consolidation, which can also stop garnishment if you act quickly. Always review the terms and consult with a financial advisor before consolidating. To prevent future garnishment, stay proactive about your finances. Pay government debts on time, respond to notices, and set up payment plans if needed. Monitor your accounts and credit reports regularly to catch issues early. Building good financial habits can help you avoid garnishment and maintain control over your money. There are many resources available to help you deal with government debt and garnishment. Nonprofit credit counseling agencies, legal aid organizations, and government websites offer information and support. Use these resources to learn about your options, get advice, and find assistance if you're struggling. Don't hesitate to reach out for help when you need it. Let's recap the key points about garnishment for government debt. Garnishment is a legal process used by government agencies to collect unpaid debts, such as taxes, student loans, and child support. The government has special authority to garnish wages and bank accounts, often without a court order. There are legal limits and protections for debtors, including the right to notice, dispute, and appeal. Understanding your rights and options is essential for managing government debt effectively. If you're facing garnishment for government debt, don't panic. Take action by reading notices, understanding your rights, and reaching out for help if needed. Set up payment plans, dispute incorrect debts, and communicate with agencies. The sooner you act, the more options you'll have to resolve the situation and protect your finances. To learn more about garnishment for government debt, explore reputable sources such as government websites, nonprofit organizations, and legal aid services. Staying informed helps you make better decisions and avoid common pitfalls. Knowledge is your best tool for managing debt and protecting your financial future. Garnishment for government debt can be stressful, but understanding the process and your rights can make it more manageable. Remember, you have options and protections under the law. Take proactive steps to address debts, seek help when needed, and stay informed. With the right approach, you can navigate garnishment and work toward financial stability. Thank you for watching this overview of garnishment for government debt. We hope you now have a clearer understanding of how garnishment works, what your rights are, and the steps you can take if you're affected. Remember, staying informed and taking action early are the best ways to protect your finances and resolve government debt issues.